Welcome to the Clear to Send podcast, a podcast about wireless engineering, where we educate you on Wi-Fi technology, talk about design tips, troubleshooting, interviews, and the tools. Here are your hosts, Roel and Francois.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Clear to Send podcast. This is a live recording of Coffee Hour, where me and Francois talk about different topics while we drink coffee. And hopefully you are drinking coffee as well in this fine morning, even though things are kind of messed up on my side of the world.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess just a casual discussion between you and I on what we're working on, what's going on in our little technological world. And I guess today it's a little bit bigger than us, right? It goes beyond the technology.
It definitely goes beyond the technology issues with in today's society, things that people have been holding back for such a long time. And it's creating a lot of, uncertainty, a lot of frustration. And, a lot of this also happens in the technology field, which can be surprising, but it does happen. I see those discussions, but a lot of times we just silence them. We just kind of, put them under the rug and act like nothing happened. Yeah,
exactly. And it's impacting, I guess it's going to impact what we were going to talk about today. Because preparing this live, we wanted to talk about, online conferences. And then last night, Cisco just announced that they're postponing their Cisco Live. So it's, like we said, it's bigger than just our little word, and it's impacting, I guess, what we do.
Yeah.
I can see your resume, Roel.
I mean, I don't know why that's there.
But I feel like we're still adjusting to the whole live stuff. I still don't see the comments. But anyway, it's okay.
I can see the comments, and we have Lariana and Germans there. Our most faithful followers. They're always joining us on live, and even on my own live. And that's why you saw that, that resume thing on the screen. I have no idea why that was on there when we started, which is weird, because on one of my previous live streams for my personal live stream, I did talk about a resume and said, you guys can look at my resume if you want to, if you're looking for, to improve your resume, you can look at mine, and I've used it to, get to where I am now. But we're not here to talk about resumes. We're here to talk about online conferences, the impact, and we really wanted to use this as a way to get ready for Cisco Live virtually, because that was happening starting today. But last minute, Cisco, Chuck Robbins decided to upload a video where they are postponing the event due to what is currently happening with the protests and the riots that are happening out here in the United States and in some parts, in different parts of the world.
Yeah, I know in Canada they're organizing some. It's more like some walks and peaceful walks, I guess. But to protest against the same idea. So I think it's happening all over the world. In the US, the situation is just like a little critical right now, right? And then the president went on TV last night, didn't really, cool down the whole situation. So
and I've been ignoring him for the most part, because it doesn't it's not positive. Anything positive that he's sharing out there. I think it's just creating more issues. And part of it for me is it's making my head hurt, literally, having to think about these things and these issues, these protests and riots are fairly close to where I live. I don't live too far from downtown San Jose. So when they are having these protests, I can see the helicopters going around, and, luckily here in San Jose, it's pretty relaxed. It's pretty quiet. It's not as bad as some of the other cities, but I can see why Cisco decided to postpone it, because now's not the time to try to do something like a Cisco Live.
Yeah, they were saying that. So the CEO actually put a message on YouTube, and he was saying that, he wants people to just spend time with their family and just spend time, I guess, out of work, I guess, in these times. And so the priority wasn't the event, so they're just postponing it to a later date.
Oh, do we want to play some of that video here? I can definitely.
Can you try that?
Yeah, I can definitely try that. It was only uploaded 10 hours ago. That's how.
Hi, I'm Chuck Robbins, Chairman and CEO of Cisco. This week, we've been planning on bringing you an amazing experience with our first fully digital Cisco Live US starting on Tuesday, June 2nd. I'm here today to let you know that we've made the decision to postpone Cisco Live. This decision was a difficult one to come by, given how badly we want to connect with you, share what we've been working on at Cisco, offer you both technology and leadership insights, and celebrate, as we always do. But in light of recent events and the turmoil happening across the United States, and with some of your feedback, we feel this is the right thing to do, and that is something we always strive for at Cisco. Right now, people across the U.S. and the world are dealing with so much pain, frustration, and anger, and many of us need time for space and healing. Whether it's to support your families, friends, and colleagues, or simply time for yourself, we want to give you space this week to go do what you need to do within your own organizations and communities. We look forward to hosting you for Cisco Live soon, and we'll be coming back to you in the next few days to announce our new dates later in June. For the past 6 months, we've all been navigating the global health crisis of our lifetime. And this has changed everything we do, the way we interact, the way we stay apart but yearn for connection. Many of our businesses have changed from physical to virtual to remote workforces. We have simply had to rethink everything. At Cisco, we've been focused on our employees, all of you, our customers and partners, and our communities. I'm incredibly proud of the way our teams have stepped up in all of these areas. And I'm particularly astonished at what you all have been able to accomplish as the world moved to digital at a pace we never could have imagined. Today, we find ourselves facing another pandemic, not one that is new by any means, but one that we must confront. The recent murders of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and so many more before them are horrific, maddening, and truly abhorrent. At Cisco, we have always aspired to foster an environment of dignity, respect, fairness, and equality for all, not just within the walls or virtual walls these days of our company, but this is the world we envision. We recently unveiled our new purpose, to power an inclusive future for all. I'm proud to share that Cisco is donating $5 million to charities dedicated to fighting racism and discrimination. This is just a first step. There is so much more we can do beyond just a statement of solidarity or financial support, including acknowledgement, understanding, and action. Thank you for your support and for your trust. We are so excited to bring you the Cisco Live experience you deserve in just a few weeks. Stay tuned on CiscoLive.com for more details. In the meantime, please stay safe and take care of yourselves and each other.
Here you go. I couldn't have stated better.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I thought that was great of Cisco to do under his leadership, and they did the right thing. And I'm glad they're donating money, and they've been donating money since the pandemic started. And for them to go through this, they've had to cancel Cisco Live, the actual in-person event. They then started planning for the digital event. Now this happened, so they had to postpone it to the end of the month, which between now and the end of the month, there is another event. There's a couple of events happening. So this is a challenge, not just for virtual events, but also in-person events, right? What would have happened if this was currently going on in Vegas, for example, and you had 30,000 people there show up for a conference?
Yeah. So, and I was looking forward to the Cisco Live online version as well. I wanted to see how you could experience the conference online, right? And I guess we can talk a little bit about that. I've attended a couple of conferences or events over the past month online, and I had like mixed experiences. So I was exciting to try to see how Cisco would try to engage with the participants, and try to have a fun and engaging event. So I guess we'll see. Did you take a look at what they had planned for the Cisco Live, the agenda and the sessions and all of that?
Yeah, I was ready to, pick the ones I wanted to actually sit down and pay attention to. There was even some Cisco champion stuff that was going to happen right before some of the keynotes. So a lot of this just changed, and as well as having the Cisco DevNet Day, that's no longer, that's postponed as well, because that was happening on the Thursday this week. And
well, it makes sense, right? If they cancel Cisco Live, it makes sense that they cancel DevNet Day. I was registered for that one as well. So
yeah, and that one happened. DevNet Day happened to be on the same day as Ekahau's Wi-Fi Day, which I am not presenting, but I'm participating as a panelist, and I'm not sure if that's still going, but it probably will. It's just not as large scale as Cisco's event, where you've got people. Where Cisco Live is like 30,000 people that show up. I'm not sure how many registered for the virtual version, but usually this month is where there's a lot of conferences, right? So and this month we've got Cisco's conferences, we've got Ekahau doing something all day, and also Aruba, as Brandon Murray mentions in the chat. He says Aruba Atmosphere Digital is still on for June 9th. Which they have not announced any postponements of that either. And so I think that's why Cisco is kind of waiting is, all right, what's going to happen after this week? Are we going to see other events also postpone and move their dates? And so all this coordination has to happen. And I don't know if they're talking to each other about making sure they don't step on top of each other's events, but that's going to be something to look out for. Is you don't want to schedule both Cisco and Aruba on the same week.
Yeah. Well, the advantage of all of these events is that you can attend for free. I guess it's one of the advantages of having them online. You don't have to pay $1,000 or $2,000 to attend. Yeah, you can just register and then attend for free. And I'm guessing, they're going to put everything online after the fact, maybe on on-demand video or YouTube or whatever. So I guess it creates content for us to just consume for free.
Yeah, the whole making it free part, I think that was a good move, especially having had the in-person ones canceled. It does allow us to focus more on the content itself, the presentations that are given to us, and I know they're gonna come out with a lot of different presentations once these events go live, because what you do see are like the keynotes, but usually in-person events you have all those other technical discussions, and so I assume those are already recorded and ready to just be published. For me, when joining these live events, it wasn't so much about the sessions and sitting in on the sessions. It was more about networking with the people. And so that's the biggest piece we're going to miss. And what I was really looking forward to was how Cisco was going to handle that. How are we going to network with other people in our field if we aren't there to do it face to face?
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing they would leverage, Teams and tools like that, right? To create rooms, kind of like what they do when Cisco Live is happening. But now you'll have to do it, I guess, with people remote. But how is that different from just chatting with your friends, on a regular basis, right? So
it could be that you might not be able to meet that one person that you usually don't talk to, right? Someone that you might just run into and have those discussions that you just don't have those types of discussions in a chat room, right? That's where I was learning the most, was in between sessions. You would go to a session and then run into somebody in the hallway after that session, then start having a discussion that was so much better than a session itself, because you're just able to pick up from where a presenter left off. Or maybe you have the option to speak with the presenter at Cisco Live right afterwards, which I don't know if that's going to be possible after in the virtual environment. Are they just going to hop into a chat room and then everyone just kind of bombards that person?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. So I've attended a couple of the conferences. I've attended to the Juniper. They had a virtual summit. I don't know if you saw that happen, and that was. I mean, the content was okay, but everything was recorded. So they had like a schedule for you to follow. But it seemed to me, I wasn't sure 100%, but it seemed that everything was recorded. So you would have like, presentation after presentation. So it wasn't as good as what I expected. They didn't have any engagement. They did have different subjects or topics that you could choose out from. So they had the keynotes, and then they had different topics, maybe, mobility, maybe, routing or whatever. And then you could choose the videos you wanted from those categories. But it seemed like everything was recorded. So it was, I mean, we got some knowledge out of it, but it wasn't engaging at all. So I think the danger with that is people could be just, watching the video while working. Yeah. So they're not fully,
you're not focused.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, when you work and you're listening to something, right? You don't have your full attention. I do that a lot when I watch soccer, right? I'll just put soccer on the side and at work, I don't have my full attention to the soccer game. I can just, glance at it and watch the goals when they happen, stuff like that. I think that's a danger. I think it's better if you have the participant fully engaged so they can actually, ask questions and then get the most out of the content that you present. Mist did a boot camp for a day. That was live. And that was much better because they were able to, give away some stuff, have people engage on Twitter. They did some games. Sudhir did some bingo games, and he had a lot of fun with it. So everyone was kind of like, and he did the games between the breaks. So we pretty much didn't have breaks because everyone was staying for the games, right? So that was a much better experience. I think when it's live, it brings a lot more to the overall experience. Yeah. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of how they bring in the social aspect because, like we said earlier, you're just not going to be completely focused if it's an all-day event and it's just pre-recorded videos. I will definitely just be looking at the agenda and looking for the ones I want to watch, right? It's very similar to like going in person and just picking the sessions you want to see. But the downside is I'm here at home. My family's here. So if my kids need my attention, I'm going to be stepping away from the computer and tending to them. Or if work calls, it is easier for me to go, you know what, let me just hop off of this and then go to work and do something. And Nigel says on the chat that, the Mist boot camp was excellent. So they definitely added that social aspect to it, which is what people want out of a conference. Theirs is more of a boot camp, like you said, but we can model that as a conference. It's a much smaller scale. I don't know how you would do that for a Cisco live scale where you've got 30,000 people that usually show up in person. And Gurman's also agrees that looking at a screen is difficult and it's easy to fall asleep. It definitely is, especially if Cisco Live, for some of you guys in Europe, it's evening. You're definitely not going to be staying up all night unless you're very, very dedicated to Cisco and passionate that you want to see these topics, that you'll try to watch it live. But if I knew it was recorded, pre-recorded videos, I would not watch it live. I'd probably ask if those videos will be available online later and then pick the ones I want to see.
But you don't expect it to be recorded, right? When you attend an event, nothing is, you're in the room while the speaker's talking. So, I mean, as an attendee, I wouldn't expect the online event to be recorded. You see what I mean? Yeah. Like Thursday when it's the Wi-Fi day from EKH, I'm not expecting that to be recorded. I'm just expecting the presenters to take their turn and present live, right?
It's definitely going to be live because I'm on there as a panelist for a discussion, and I didn't record anything, so it'll definitely be live. I'll be on there. We'll see how, as we get closer to the day, if EKH makes any changes, but I feel like it's probably going to go on. And when we look at these online conferences, the one thing that we also miss are the questions that are asked during the session. And sometimes they're very good questions where someone just thinks about it on the spot and then raises their hand to interrupt the presenter and ask them to answer something very specific. And sometimes you get some really good insights from that coming from the presenter himself, whether that's a distinguished engineer or something that could be spoken about where on a online conference, we might not get that, right? Because I know how hard it is for like a webinar where people are putting in their questions. Not every single question gets answered. And we also don't get a follow-up to those questions that were not answered as well.
And you might also get more like politically correct answers because, people might think that, it's going to be recorded, online, available, whatever. So, maybe it's a different feel, like you said, as just someone asking a question in person. I think you're right about that. I think also like,
sorry, go ahead.
Now, I was going to say, if you want the online event to be successful, I think you also need a platform that will handle, all the load. Because I watched a LoRa, the IoT technology, a conference, I think about a month ago, and they used YouTube to stream it. And it was really slow. Like sometimes they would lose the presenters. So it was
really?
live, definitely live. So you had like a coordinator that was taking turn and then in giving the presentation to different people. But sometimes the platform would just crash and then you would lose the person for like 5 minutes. So it made it very hard to stick around.
Yeah, I will say doing live streams are not easy. And when you do it at scale, you got to have another piece of equipment to handle that, right? So yeah, I can see where, especially if it was kind of a last minute thing that they try to do and make them live. The other thing that I forgot to think about were all the different performers that Cisco had lined up. Will we have the same performers later on in the month? Are they also booked up for other things? And and I don't even know how they're going to do that. The performance, like, do we just all join in on WebEx Teams and watch them and over video and they could see us? Like,
I mean, this could be, remember I think it could be doable because I think they did some artists did an event to raise money and they was just playing in the house, right?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's doable. I don't know about the experience.
Yeah.
Is it going to be better than just watching YouTube?
Watching it live.
I don't know.
I guess maybe the different side of that is you might have some sort of personal interaction with the performer if after they're done performing, they chat on the video conference and be able to ask some questions.
Hopefully it's not going to be as awkward as remember last year Cisco Live at the end when they invited the actress.
The interview? Yeah. What's her name? Oh, I forgot her name. But yeah, Dreyfus. That was that interview at the end was it was interesting. Let's just put it that way. And I don't know if they're going to have those same types of keynotes, like the ending keynote. I don't remember what the ending keynote was. I don't remember what the agenda was, but my thoughts around virtual conferences are, I haven't been to a large scale virtual conference as Cisco was doing, or even as Aruba's doing, because Aruba's got their own as well. And I registered for that one and I'm going to attend it as long as they keep it at June 9th. But I wanted to see what they had going on and see how that event is going to be. But I don't think, even after this pandemic and everything's done, I don't think virtual conferences are going to be a thing. I think they're going to go back to what they were doing. And actually I saw a really good post from Packet Pushers. I think it was, because I'm on their email list, it was discussing about these events, like what's going to happen after these events. And these big companies are going to go back to doing these events because they like doing these events. They like to bring in people. They like to create a special atmosphere and experience just for those people. And also, it drives
business
sales
for them too.
Yeah, it drives sales for them. At Cisco Live, you got the World of Solutions, which is just a bunch of booths, right, of vendors who are partners of Cisco and wanting to sell something to you. I don't think we have that for this Cisco Live conference, right? Which you could see that as a blessing. You don't have to deal with salespeople, but I did like going to different booths to see what companies had not necessarily to buy anything, but just to see what's happening out there in the industry
and get the goodies
and get the free stuff. Yeah, no free stuff.
Yeah, I think it's also a business for them, right? Like you said, like all these exhibitors, they pay a fee to be at Cisco Live, and that also, I guess, part of the whole business. Cisco Live is, it's, I guess they say it's a way to say thank you to their partners and customers, but I think deep down, we both know it's also model. Part of the business, right? It's a big marketing event for them.
Oh, for sure. And even though it is a big marketing event, it does drive in a lot of revenue, not just for Cisco, but wherever they have this event, right? So if you look at Vegas or San Diego, it drives in a lot of people into the city. And when we go there, we definitely go out into the city and enjoy ourselves. We go to restaurants and all that. So it really adds back to the economy. So we are even seeing from a conference point of view, a lot of money not being spent, right? So even the workers at these conference halls, they're not doing anything right now. They're not setting up. They're not tearing down. There's just a lot of money and revenue lost from in this economy due to conferences not even happening.
Yeah, and something we didn't mention for live conferences that could be an issue is time zones. Because, those companies have a global audience, right? They have people from all over the world. So I was actually looking at the Aruba event and the agenda, and they actually have different times for their keynotes. And it's saying live. So I'm guessing they're going to give it multiple times. So you can have, live demo from the Americas. They have different timelines, EMEA, and then Asia Pacific. So, and it's the same, define your edge, right? So I think some of the presentations, some of the keynotes will just be done multiple times. And maybe some will be recorded, because I can see some of them are live. They're live for EMEA and live for America, but for Asia Pacific, it doesn't say live. Poor guy. So I guess they're going to get the recording.
Oh, yeah. Some of them are on demand, but I like that approach. Yeah. Some of them are live for those time zones, but that's actually a really good thing. Mm-hmm. And it looks like Kirti has to do it for the America and EMEA.
Yeah.
So he's going to stay up for quite a bit.
And for Asia, it says non-English. So I'm guessing, I don't know which language they're going to talk, but that's interesting. I guess you can adjust the language.
Yeah, it looks like they're doing it right. And what's nice is I see Tech Field Day is part of this as well. So they're very much part of the Aruba Atmosphere Conference, which is great. So if you guys haven't seen Tech Field Day or participated, go to techfieldday.com. It's you and I have both been delegates, so it's been a good experience being a delegate and being able to have the, up close discussions with people from these companies, and you could ask them anything really.
Yeah, definitely. I think they were supposed to participate to Cisco Live as well.
Yeah, there was a Cisco Live. I think it was on the Thursday that something was going to happen, but I was already dedicated to Wi-Fi design or Wi-Fi day.
What? So talking about Wi-Fi design day for Mikahau, Miko from Mikahau just teased us, I guess, a little bit on Twitter. Did you see that?
I didn't. Let me see.
So if you want to, I can share my screen if you want.
All right, go ahead. Let me see if I can. Let me know when you got your screen up, and I'll transition over. So it looks like they're going to announce something, right?
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So he put a tweet and says, just going to leave this here. Hashtag Wi-Fi there. Yeah. And you can see a screenshot of what looks to be the iPhone survey application. And they added a little GPS, I guess, way of capturing the data. And here we don't see the full Miko. Let me go on Twitter and try to see if I can find him.
So it looks like they are working on a GPS update to Ekahau, which is great because there's going to be a lot of drive for outdoor Wi-Fi, and you definitely need a GPS adapter. So I'm curious what kind of adapter he's using. It could be just the one built into the iPhone. All we can do is assume, right? Because I see a Maps application that is.
Here.
There you go.
Yeah, so you can so you can see that he did some work outdoor, and I'm guessing the GPS was just following him. Someone was asking a question. What's the best? I think the question was, anyone have a recommendation for the GPS adapter for a cow? That was from Clay, and then he said, just going to leave it here. So I mean, if they did it for the iPhone, could they do it for the iPad? I think it's doable if the iPad is cellular, right?
Yeah, it's. I guess we'll have to wait and see. It'd have to be a cellular version. I'm not sure if Tether would be good enough.
So anyway, so we'll see. But that was one thing I guess they're working on. I guess they put a lot of focus on their mobile app these days.
Yeah, I mean it's a smaller device to carry. And it's a lot more convenient if this GPS update comes out pretty soon, hopefully this Thursday, I might give it a shot.
I'm excited to see if they're gonna announce anything else. I'll be a good opportunity for them to announce something. And if I go on their page, am I still sharing my screen?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. On their page, the Wi-Fi Day, we're gonna put a link for you guys, but you can see the agenda, and then they're going to talk about 6 gigahertz. Peter is going to talk about troubleshooting. Then we're going to have a roundtable. I guess that's where you're going to participate, Roel.
Yeah, I think that's the section I'm in with Ryan Adzema and JD. Okay,
awesome. And then Jennifer is going to talk about enhanced Wi-Fi deployment methodologies. Sam Clements is going to talk about best practices in wireless. So it's going to be a very good event. And then hopefully we're going to get some talk from Ekahau directly and get some new stuff coming out.
Yeah, I didn't even think about any new announcements coming from Ekahau. I guess I've just been used to them just sending us updates of what's happening. But I'm looking forward to that GPS update, because there's a lot of times where we need to do outdoor Wi-Fi on campus, and having that ability would definitely make it easier.
Yeah. My iPad is not cellular. I'm going to have to buy a new iPad now.
That's right, because you don't have an iPhone.
No, I don't.
See, I got both. I have both a Samsung and also an iPhone.
So you look like a tech YouTuber. You have like both.
I just don't review it. I don't review the devices. I just use them. Yeah.
I forgot you're a YouTuber now, right? You do lives every Saturday morning.
I guess it's been every Saturday. I don't know. I've been tired lately. So to be honest, like last week, I was just completely burned out. I just didn't want to do anything with technology. I didn't even really participate much in discussions, and I just needed a rest. So I did a lot of bike riding outdoors, and it allowed me to rethink, right? Get the brain flowing, the juice flowing, and get out of this house that I'm stuck in all day.
Yeah.
And just needed to change my thoughts. So being able to move actually started making me think a lot clearer, but I did need to distance myself from technology, because you just sit at the computer all day, right? And then when I get off the computer, all of a sudden I get calls to go fix something like outside of hours, and it's like I'm literally at a computer all day, and some parts of the evening I did a change. So that Saturday when I did the live stream was a hard one, because the day before I had to do an emergency change request for work on Saturday morning at 3:00 in the morning, my local time. So I woke up like at 2:50 in the morning, got on my computer. I had to reload a module, but I couldn't do it during the day. Then I had to verify that it worked, and it wasn't working. And I was like, all right, I'll deal with it later. And then I went back to bed, woke up for the live stream. So after the live stream, you had to go back and fix a module? I left it for Monday.
Okay.
It got fixed on Monday because it wasn't really affecting anyone. It was delaying deployments, and deployments had already been scheduled. And so one of the things I miss with newer technologies and being able to automate things is scheduling like a reboot of something, right? And this piece of hardware was not possible. There was no way to go schedule a reboot of a card at a specific time. You had to manually log in and issue the command and then log out. And I even thought about it. I'm like, should I write a script where at the time it will reload the card, like log in for me, issue the command, and then reload. But the one thing I haven't figured out is because logins are tied to two-factor authentication. I didn't know how to do that with the script.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking of it. Maybe network automation will kill overtime. Remember how we used to make a lot of money on changes over time?
Yeah, I've been a salary employee for a long time, so I don't know what it's like to make an hourly rate. But a lot of people bank on overtime, and especially in IT, you would be working a lot, right? Because that's why a lot of us are salaried employees, is because we can work. It's just kind of an advantage for the employer, where if something goes down in the middle of the night, you're waking up to go do it, but you're still making the same amount of money. Where for those of you who are hourly, like Francois, I don't know how you make your contracts or agreements with people, but you could charge by the hour. And then same way with an hourly employee, is you wake up, you clock in for that amount of time, and it could be overtime. But I know a lot of people would bank on that. And it's definitely, it's an interesting discussion when you talk about it that way. But yeah, automation would definitely get rid of that, especially when you could script it to do automated checks, right? And make sure everything is working. I think that was the biggest piece, right? Early on, people would try to automate those process where you reload something. But the most important part is not just a reload, but making sure it comes back and it's operating properly after the reload.
Yeah. And I like that more and more network equipments just integrate that into their reboot cycle. So if something is not working properly, they will just revert back to the previous set of configurations.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely possible, as long as even if you don't have the ability to revert changes that's built into the network operating system, you might be able to run scripts, and as long as you can still reach the API, you could have a script that does the checks for you, and if a check fails, you just have that API revert back the changes that were made. And I think that's 100% possible.
As long as you don't break the connectivity you have to the device.
So maybe out-of-band management is going to be an important thing.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about something else. I wanted to talk a little bit about terminal customization. So I played with that last week. And I started to play with that in my terminal because I was still using Bash, right? And every time I was opening my terminal, I had the little warning message, telling me that, Bash is not really, the latest and greatest. You should install and use ZSH. Yeah. Right. So I started to look into it.
I haven't changed, so I'm looking forward to what you have to share here.
Yeah, so actually I have a homebrew installed on my Mac, so I can actually use that to install ZSH. So I did a brew install ZSH to install it. If you don't have homebrew, you can install it with sudo apt-get, or no problem, or you can install homebrew and then use it to install ZSH. And then once I did that, I had a very ugly prompt. So I was like, okay. So now how do I customize my prompt? And then I came around a couple of websites. I guess I can share my screen again.
All right.
And I came around this guy here. Can you see my screen?
I can see it. There it goes.
Okay. So I came around this website, how to customize your terminal with ZSH. and they help you pretty much to bring it from the empty white terminal to this cool looking terminal. Looks like you've been coding for years. This one even had the Wi-Fi status. I was like, that's cool. I've never been able to reproduce this, but it has it in this picture. And then they talk about one package that's called OhMyZSH, and it's actually a GitHub page. I have it here, I think. Yeah. And if you go over there, it's like a whole bunch of tools available to customize your ZSH. So I used that. I installed it. And then I was able to look at the different things they had available. Right off the bat, as soon as you install it, it starts to look way better. And I use this command, basic installation. That's what I used to install it. And then after that, I looked at the theme. They have different themes. So if I go down, you see here, they have different themes. And then you can preview what the themes look like. Right.
Okay. So just changing the look and feel of your terminal.
Yeah, exactly. You can change the feel, the colors, and everything. And I was like, that's super nice. And I started to scroll, and then I look at the size of the scroll bar, and they had like hundreds of them.
Themes,
I was like, like, oh my God, which one do I choose? So what you could do is you can download all of them, and I forgot where you need to go for that, but you could download all of them. Yeah, I think it's here.
Okay, yeah. So there's a link on that page where it talks about themes.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot, but there's a link where you can definitely. Oh, here, boom, themes. If you go all the way back at the top, you have themes here, so you can download all of them, and then you can import it in your terminal. So I use iTerm.
Okay, so it does work with iTerm. That was going to be my question.
Yeah, so it does work with iTerm. So this is my iTerm, right? And if you go to the settings, the preferences, I'm going to bring it over here. I think it's under appearance. No, it's under profiles, right? Mm-hmm. And then you select the profile that you use, and then it's under color. And then here they have color presets, and by default you have a couple of them. But do you see all the one I have now?
I see that. Okay, so you can just import the themes into iTerm and be able to change your profiles. So you can have multiple profiles. So if you work with multiple systems, you can create a different profile for a system that makes sense with the color theme. You can get creative with this. Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's what I'm going to use. Let's say if I do a video to explain something, I'm probably going to have a profile that's very basic, where I can just have the normal or default prompt so people can relate to that. This is just the one I use for me. And as you can see, I don't keep anything in my prompt. I just, if I go to my desktop, it's just going to show me desktop. Yeah, that's it.
You just have a very simple, I like that. I like the simple look of it.
The thing I do have is I think it just integrates with this theme. But if I go into a directory that has a Git folder, it will give me color depending on if my repository is up to date or if I need to do a pull or a fetch.
Oh, very nice.
So that's nice. I think I have a couple of stuff here I can show you. So in this directory, you see how I have a Git.
I see how it's green now.
Yeah, you can see how it's green.
And then if you make a change to a file, it changes the color.
Yeah, if I make a change to a file, this will be yellow. This portion here will be yellow.
Yeah.
So it's just telling me that I need to upload it. So that's one thing I did for the customization. And then what you do is if you go back to your home directory, you're gonna have a file called .zshrc.
Yeah.
So very similar to, if you guys are similar with Bash. It's the same bash RC, and then you can customize it. And what I like to do is I like to add aliases.
Yeah.
Right. So
I have a long list of aliases just to shortcut things.
Yeah, exactly. And then you'll see that if you install OhMyZSH, a whole bunch of them will be there by default. So they have like some for Git, if you use Git in your terminal, and then they have, did you see the list? They have all of these aliases.
All those you did not create, those are all imported from.
Yeah, oh my ZSH.
Okay.
Yeah, except at the end I added mine. I had a couple of that. These ones I didn't add. They did it for me. I added this one here. So yeah, I have this this Python virtual environment that I use, and I just created an alias to activate it.
Yeah.
So wherever I am, I can just type Mist, and it just activates that virtual environment that has anything I need for my Mist scripts. And as you can see, I have another one to SSH into the WNPy, stuff like that.
Yeah, the aliases are by far really handy for common commands that you run. So even if it's a long command that you always run, you could make an alias for it and then use something that makes sense to you. I use aliases for SSH as well, where I have a specific user account that I use, and I create a shortcut for it, and then it just prompts me for the password or however you log in. But very useful to make things a lot more efficient.
So here, if I type Mist in this directory, you'll see that boom, I'm now into that virtual environment.
Nice.
That's using a Python 3.8, right?
Yeah, and I really like the color changes because it really stands out where you are and the status of that folder.
Yeah. And if I don't, I just have the basic 2.7. That's the one that I have. Anyway, and then Python 3, I think, is 3.8. It's the same. Anyways, so that's a couple of stuff I've done. It's not like fully customized or anything, but I kind of like it. I played a lot with the themes and the colors and stuff. So the theme I use is, it's going to be interesting to see if I can find it, but it's I think it's a default one, the one that comes, this one here.
Yeah. So you haven't played with all the themes yet.
I tried a whole bunch.
I can see how you can spend a lot of time doing that. There's so much customization there.
Yeah. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys. Maybe you can play.
Yeah, that's a good tip to change and modify your terminal to fit however your workflow is, and I think that's going to be pretty useful for us as we dive into working with other systems and also working with network automation. And I guess that's a good segue into as we wrap up here. We're almost at an hour, but what are you currently working on, Francois?
So I'm working on a couple of stuff. I guess last month or a few weeks ago, I created a mini course for Wi-Fi training on Wi-Fi data rates. So I did that, and I'm working on the second one on Wi-Fi 6 right now. So it's going to be an hour and a half on the overview of Wi-Fi 6. So I'm working on that. And then I work on my Python skills as well. So every day I try to do after dinner, like I try to do an hour or 2 hours of Python, and I'm building a library for Mist to interact with the Mist API. So I'm doing my own library to kind of learn, how everything works. So it's nice. There's definitely other Mist libraries now out there. So we have a couple of guys from Mist that have one. Thomas from France, Thomas Munzer has one. Ryan Zima published a script he worked on where he had a lot of stuff as well. And then you have a guy in Europe, I forgot his name, but he has another one as well. You have a guy in the US that has deployed Mist, that has a library. So it's nice to see that people are building stuff. So I could be reusing theirs, but I just use that opportunity to learn more Python skills, right?
Yeah, for sure. And you guys should check it out because we'll add a link into the show notes and the description of the video. It's helping me learn as well because, Francois, you're definitely ahead of me with the Python scripting. I'm still learning, but with different platforms. I haven't been messing around with the Mist API library too much, but going through it, even if you were to remove the thought of Mist just in general, seeing the structure of your Mist, your Python scripts actually helps me to understand how I should create mine and how different parts of the script work. You got classes and functions and how to make certain calls and do those iterations with loops. So it's also a way for us to learn from each other of how we could use Python to interact with some of these APIs. And so I think it's great that what you published was pretty cool. And I think one of my favorite features that you added was how long it took to run the script.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I always skip that. And I can tell, so something I did, and I worked with Nigel on that, is I did a module for the tokens. Okay, so Nigel sends me a message one day. It's like, why don't you use the environment variables to store the token instead of putting in a file and then retrieving it? In Python, it's very easy. They have a module called OS where you can retrieve anything from the OS. So you could retrieve all the virtual environments. So that's why I didn't show you my ZSHRC file, because I have a command there that exports my token as a virtual environment. So I have access to it whenever I do a script or whenever I run a script. And so what I did is I created, I guess I can show you. Do you have a minute?
Yeah, let's do it.
Just let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see YouTube.
You can see YouTube? Okay. Oh yeah, it's because I'm sharing the wrong screen, obviously. So now you guys know we're live. We're not faking this. Okay. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So this is just a GitHub where I placed it, and I called it PyMist.
Hold on, I think I lost your screen.
Oh, you lost my screen.
There you go. It's back.
Okay. And I have a module under PyMist called, it's under the Mist API module, I guess. But here, I'm going to zoom a little bit. I have a class that I call token, and then within this class, so a lot of comments. Some of it comes from Nigel. Thank you, Nigel. He tested it on Windows for me, and we made some adjustments.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so this is what I do. Like when I just retrieve the environment variable called Mist token, if it exists, right? If it doesn't exist, I go and retrieve it from the configuration file. So it's kind of like a fallback. And then I have this thing called get temp token. So what I do is I create a temporary token for all of the API calls that I will be making during my script. So I just use the master token to create my temporary token. And then for any API calls I make during the script, I use that temporary token. And at the end of the script, I just remove or delete
you
that
get rid of that
token.
Yeah. So it's almost like you're a little bit more secure and not using the same token every single script you run.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how much secure it makes it, but I guess it adds a little bit of it's kind of like a one-time password, one-time token. I called it a one-time
token. You should claim the rights to that.
Onetimetoken.com. And then when I create my Mist API object, right? You can see that when I init it, when I create it, I'm creating the token part of it. One of the attributes is my token, and then I create that temporary token that I keep with me as I do my API calls. And one thing Nigel was showing me is this session thing. So you know how when we make API requests, we use the request module, and we usually do like request.get or request.put. So what you can do instead is you can open a session, and then you'll be using the same HTTP session for all the calls requested after the fact.
And then you close it at the end of the script, right?
And at the end, so I have this exit function here where I delete my token and I close my session.
Okay. Yeah, that's
and
perfect.
Yeah, and this speeds up the process quite a bit, because instead of launching
A new session.
a new session every time you make an API call, you just have one open for the entire script, and then you close it at the end, and you like, it's so much faster. It's like as maybe it's like 2 times faster. So it was quite impressive, and so that's one of the stuff I worked on. And then, like you said, I used that opportunity to learn a lot. So I actually did research to see how to organize the files. Did they have any standards on how you should organize all of this? As you can see, I don't have any documentation for now, but I'm just working on it a little bit every day.
Yeah, and it's gotten to the point where I can actually read through your scripts and understand what you're doing. I think that's also one of the good things with learning as you pick up Python and how APIs are used and functions and classes. You start to pick up how you're developing this, even though you don't have any documentation on it. It still kind of makes sense to me as what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to put a lot of comments inside the scripts. Yeah. So
yeah, you do have that. You at least have a lot of good comments within the scripts themselves, so you can describe what that section does when you get to that section. So I think that's also very important. You're already following a lot of the good practices when it comes to coding, which is adding in good documentation. So when somebody does look at your script, we fully understand it.
Yeah, and then we'll put. I want to put a link to all the other libraries. Mist libraries that are available, so you guys can see what they have. My goal for mine is to bring it to the point where I can use it for the script I did to configure the AP for an AP on the stick.
Yeah.
So I want to bring it to that point and maybe try to see if I can create like a package that you could just import, kind of like how we import JSON or whatever. So when I work on a new project, I could just import that library and then use it for other purposes.
Yeah, I mean, that makes it a lot easier to start working across different, the way you're doing it. And so I can see you adding more efficiency as you're learning more about how to write scripts, because when we first start, we just kind of write it all into the same file. We might be opening sessions or files, but never closing them. So you're actually using a lot of those techniques that we should be using.
Yeah, and I did a lot of research on the logger, how to log messages, log to the console, log to a file. So I spent time doing this, and then I spent time working on exceptions, how to raise exceptions and when to do it. And I'm still not 100% clear on all of that. But yeah, I try to do a lot of research. So I'm just taking that as an opportunity to learn as much as I can.
Yeah, I mean, now's a good time to pick up Python and learn something, especially when we have the tools, especially with Mist, on accessing things that we work on a day-to-day basis with wireless. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed with all the changes I'm making on my Mist cloud and APM. When you make real changes on your network equipment, you're always like a little, I'm not too sure. But when you do APIs, you run script after script that makes 10, 20 changes for you, and every time it works for me. So I'm very impressed with that.
Awesome. Well,
okay.
That's great.
Yeah, enough talked about me.
No, you're working on some cool stuff compared to what I'm working on. I got work things.
What are you working on? Yeah.
I have work things that I, for my employer that I'm working on, which I can't talk about. It's really just fiber to the home stuff. So I deal with a lot of ad trend equipment. So there's not a lot of APIs there.
There's still yet, maybe in the future. Yeah.
In the future, they're starting to move there. I have some ideas for there's new pieces of equipment that have an API, and so I want to try to work on that, but I'm still working on the foundational infrastructure side. Then we're getting people rolled in. So we got people using gigabit. They get gigabit to the home. This is for faculty and staff. And because they're teaching from home and they're doing their classes from home over Zoom, they need more reliable internet. So we're all just giving them really great speeds. And so far it's been working out great. It's just all been escalated due to the pandemic. So even though this project was supposed to happen, like around this time,
it's a priority.
Yeah. Now it was supposed to start around this month, but then it got escalated and it started in like the month before, in May or April is when it started. I don't even remember anymore because I lose track of my days. So when I'm not doing that,
everyone does.
I don't know what's going on anymore. So aside from that, some of the things that I've been working on is I'm really trying to decide if I should go for the Cisco CCNP Enterprise Core certification. I have the books. It's just a lot less wireless topics, right? So a lot more routing and switching. But looking at it, they are adding more wireless into the certification. So they will ask about wireless architecture. There's some basics with Wi-Fi technologies, talking about RF and signal strength, things like that. And then they do talk about some design, but I did see that there is a specialization within CCNP. There's two of them. There's either the design track or the wireless implementation. So there's specialist certification. So I'm thinking about going that route just to see what that's about. But I do need to have the CCNP Enterprise Core first. Then get the specialist. I mean, I could probably just go straight to the specialist, but I wanted to see what these certifications were like. And then I talk about them on my own YouTube channel where I created a new lab environment. So I have a new server in which I've put up CMLP, the Cisco Modeling Labs, the personal edition, which in the future I will be able to start using a lot more of those Python scripts and test automation. I am limited to about 20 devices, but 20 devices for me is enough to try to do some sort of network automation, right? Where I try to auto configure a lot of those network devices. What I wish I could add was the 9800 wireless controller into there. I'll see if I can figure that out and if it's possible, because then I could really start doing some complex network designs, or maybe simulate a WAN, for example, where you have different different dispersed networks, but I just don't know how I can add a virtual AP into CMLP. So those are the two things that I'm working on, and I just continue to create some content that is not really wireless specific, but more foundations on networking, and then wireless I try to dedicate to here on Clear to Send.
Yeah, I think your live was great because I had no idea what the CML was all about, and I'm forgetting a letter, right?
CML, the P at the end for personal.
CMLP, yeah.
Yeah, there's an enterprise and a personal version.
Yeah, so I learned all of that during your live, so that was good. And I like it's kind of like an evolution of packet tracer, right?
Yeah,
that's what I got from it. Yeah.
Well, packet tracer is more of like a emulation, I believe, but they do have you can do some wireless stuff in there. It's just limited with what you could do. So I believe there's wireless like controllers that you could add to packet tracer. CML is more like simulation, so you're actually using images of like Cisco routers and switches.
Yeah, it's more like GNS3 then, right?
Right, yeah, and I decided to go with CMLP because I don't have time to look for images or try to make GNS3 work or even EVE-NG. For me, it's more about time than anything.
All right. I think we're good for this week.
Yeah, we're pretty good. We'll have this recorded for you guys if you aren't able to, or I guess if you got to this point, you're able to see the whole thing, but we will have the audio version as well. And then this will be on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/clear2send. This was supposed to be a discussion about virtual conferences and the events, although things have changed, but it was a good discussion overall for coffee hour, where we just kind of casually talk about current events, what's happening, and what we're working on. So I want to thank you guys. Thank you for those in the chat: Mel, Germans, Nigel, Lariana, Brandon Murray. Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, you guys are still on. That's good. Made it to the end. Thank you guys. Really appreciate the support, and we'll continue to do these coffee hour live streams for you guys. And if there's any topics you guys want us to discuss, let us know and we'll try to talk about it. Thanks, guys.